Hello friends, today I am talking all about the books that I want to reread. The majority of these books were read quite a while ago. To be honest, I forget the plot of most of them and I didn't review them, so I can't remember my thoughts on them. So without further ado, let's get into the video. The book that I want to reread is John Green's The Fault in Our Stars. I think I only read this once. And to be honest, I can't remember my thoughts on the book. I know the book is different from the movie. They always are. And especially now that I have, well, I did read this while I was sick and I thought it was okay then. But I want to see what I think of it now. So yeah, I really do want to read this just to see what I think of it. And to see how it differs from the movie as well. I'm going to be honest with you, I have 2 John Green books on this here list that I want to reread. I don't typically really like John Green books. Like, it's just, they're okay. They haven't blown my mind. I know that when I bought this was a really popular YA book. And obviously I bought it because the movie was coming out. There was a lot of hype around it. So I bought it and read it. And I didn't really remember much after that. So I want to reread it. The next book is also a John Green book. I want to read Paper Towns by John Green. Again, I don't remember. I think I read this book in like 2 or 3 days. And I read this book, I believe, at a time when I was going through some really rough Lyme treatment, and my memory is very fuzzy around this book. I've seen the movie, it's okay, and like that's it. I don't know really what happens in this book. So the next book I want to read is Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. So I actually have the movie to this, and it's my favorite. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I read the book almost 2 years ago now. I remember some of it, but I never like did a review on it or anything for Goodreads, so I can't really remember much about it. I do remember that I liked it, but I like it a little bit less from the movie because the plot of the book and some of the things that happens in the book are a little bit different than what happens in the movie. So there's differences. But I still remember that I do enjoy this. I just want to reread this so I can have a review on it because it is a book that I really like. I don't know if this is actually like a favorite of mine. I'd have to reread it again to see if it actually is a favorite like the movie is. The next book that I want to reread is DUFF by Kody Keplinger. I think that's how you pronounce the last name. But I read this in one day quite a while back. I have this on ebook. And yeah, I don't really remember much about this. I know that the story, from what I remember from it, is vastly different from the movie. Like, it's a completely different plot. So I do want to reread this, kind of see what my thoughts are on the book. Because I have seen other people say that this is like one of the worst books that they've ever read and they really hate it. So yeah, I really can't remember my thoughts on this at all, so I do want to reread it. If I read it in a day, then it shouldn't take me too long to read it now. Another book that I want to reread is actually a favorite of mine. It has been a favorite for a very long time, but I haven't read it in like 3 or 4 years. This is Selene of Alexandria by Faith L. Justice. This is a book set in Hellenistic times that follows the story of a young girl who wants to become a doctor, obviously in a time where it's impossible for women to pretty much be their own person, pretty much. So I remember really enjoying this book because it was so well researched and it was so atmospheric and wonderful, and I remember really loving this book, but I haven't read it in such a long time and I really want to reread it. It's actually on my TBR list, like my whole list that I want to read in the next few months, so hopefully I will get through it. I really do want to reread it. And lastly, we have a few Egyptology books that I want to reread. So the first one here is Nefertiti, or The Search for Nefertiti by Joann Fletcher. So this basically follows the story of Nefertiti and who she was and what Egyptologists know about her. And this also follows this tier 1 Egyptologist theory about where she thinks Nefertiti is buried, or where her remains could be, and you know, what possibly happened in her life. So this is a pretty thick book. I read this a long time ago. It's probably about 4 years ago now. I remember liking it and liking her theories, but I honestly can't remember much more than that. Again, I don't have a review on this on my Goodreads, so I really love to reread it. And you know, kind of know my thoughts on it. And I guess it's just great because these kind of things you can reread over and over again because it's just facts and stuff. And yeah, I just can't remember much about this. The next one is The Murder of Tutankhamen by Dr. Brier. He's a pretty popular Egyptologist. I actually have a few courses from him with great courses on Egyptology. Thoroughly entertaining. This is his now debunked theory of how Tutankhamen was, in the title, murdered. There is a lot of debate surrounding Tutankhamun's death, but the theory presented in this book is the one in which Tutankhamen died by a blow to the skull, which has now been debunked. So I am still interested in reading this. I remember reading this almost, God, it has to be 6 or 7 years now. It's been a long time since I read this, so I would really love to reread this. It's not a big read, so yeah, I would just love to reread this and kind of, now that I know a lot more about Egyptology, see, you know, how theories have changed over time about his death. So yeah, I also love reading about Brier. His writing is really good, from what I remember. He's just so entertaining. And the last book that I want to reread is The Woman Who Would Be King by Cooney. This is Hatshepsut's Rise to Power in Ancient Egypt. I read this 3 to 4 years ago now. What I remember about this book and what has stuck out to me, this book detailed a lot of the kind of spiritual rituals of the ancient Egyptians, especially the role that women, especially pharaonic women, played. So I remember being like kind of creeped out by it. Like, there's just some kind of gross stuff that went down. I mean, you're talking about a royal family, and most royal families, you know, the daughters had, you know, the sisters and brothers would marry. Sometimes the daughters and their father would have kids. Like, it's just, it's disturbing in that sense. And I remember being, you know, taken aback and kind of disturbed by some of the things that went on in this book, because you're detailing so many things, and I was just shocked by it because I didn't know that happened, because it's probably too graphic for TV. But yeah, I just want to reread it and see what my thoughts are now on it, because I did read it so long ago and I can't remember. I just can't remember. That's what basically this is about. I can't remember what any of these books are about and what I thought about them. So yeah, it's not a long book. It's relatively short. So I actually do want to do a video on all of the series that I want to reread, because I do have quite a few. So if you want to see a video on that, let me know and I will try to post that probably in like April or May. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new. Please be sure to check out my Instagram, Goodreads, and Twitter. The links will be in the description below, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye!